Let's take you now to Ukraine and the war. Russian authorities confirming the death of their high-ranked general deployed to Ukraine. It's Major General Vladimir Zavadsky, who was the deputy commander of the 14th Army Corps of the Northern Fleet. This has come from the governor of the Russian Voronezh region. Pro-Kremlin sources say Zavadsky was killed after being blown up by a mine. This comes as Russia bombarded southern Ukraine overnight, the regions of Kherson and Mykolaiv being hit. Jessica Parker is our correspondent in Kyiv right now. She told me that Major General Zavadsky's death is significant for the Kremlin.
General Zavadsky, as you say, we had heard last week actually in unconfirmed reports that he had been killed, but there wasn't a lot of detail and it hadn't been confirmed by official sources in Russia. So this development today, as you say, a regional governor confirming that he had died. It isn't exactly clear, and this governor didn't outline the circumstances of General Zavadsky's death. There have been reports that he actually died some way back from the front line, possibly blown up by a landmine. That would suggest it could have been a Russian-laid landmine. His unit was thought to be around the Kherson region, but there's actually been conflicting reports as to where it may have happened. So in truth, we don't know the exact circumstances of his death as things stand. In terms of its significance, it would be, we think, around the 7th general to have died since Russia's full-scale invasion. I think around 4 died in the first 4 months of fighting and then 2 earlier this summer. Clearly, the loss of any kind of senior military official in the field is always a blow to that side.
And Jess, we've talked a lot over recent weeks about the concern in Ukraine about money and aid slowing down towards Kyiv. And now we've got this letter, this warning to Congress from the White House that funds for Ukraine could dry up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so some slightly worrying news, I think, but really a development on something that we already knew about coming out of D.C. Today. So this is the White House Budget Chief Shalanda Young writing to Congress, and she's pretty stark in her assessment of the situation. She said that without congressional action in terms of providing aid to Kyiv by the end of the year, we'll run out of resources to provide more weapons and equipment, and that could potentially kneecap Ukraine. You'll remember, of course, a recent sort of stopgap settlement to prevent a federal government shutdown omitted Ukraine from that. I think, senior Ukrainian politicians trying to put a brave face on that, emphasising the strength of the relationship. But clearly, I think there is concern as to whether some crucial funding that President Biden has tried to put forward as a part of a wider package will actually come to fruition. The US, of course, has been the biggest backer of Ukraine in terms of military aid. And then you've kind of got as well also going on concerns about whether EU funding will come to the fore ahead of a summit next week in Brussels, and tied into that all as well potential concerns about whether there's going to be a blockage on the next stage of Ukraine's EU accession hopes, its hopes to become a member. So I think when you look at that picture tied in with what's been seen as a bit of a faltering counter-offensive and Russia actually really trying to push ahead in some areas, it is a difficult time for Ukraine in terms of this conflict.